Previously, we've looked at square numbers. This lesson, we're looking at cubics. Okay, so where we have a square number would be something raised to the power of 2. A cubic is just anything raised to the power of 3. And where we have a square is 2 times 2. This time, our cubic is going to be that number multiplied by itself 3 times instead of 2 times. And again, minus 27 times minus 27 times minus 27. Now, another important thing to note, you need to know what a cube is and you need to know what a cube root is. And a cube root is just the way that we undo a cube. So remember how a square root of, say, x squared is going to give us x. It's actually going to give us plus minus x. If we were to find the cube root of x cubed, that's going to also give us x. Now, down here we just have examples of some cube roots. So here we have the cube root of 2 and the cube root of 9. Make sure you know how to say them, but basically a cube root is a square root with a little 3 on this part there. So when we think back to our square numbers, if we had, say, the square root of 9, we're going to get two answers. We can get positive 3 or negative 3. And the reason we do that is down here, because if we multiply a negative times a negative, we know it gives us a positive. So we're going to get the 9, the negative. So we have minus 3 times minus 3 will give us 9. If we had a positive times a positive, we're going to get a positive. So 3 times 3 is going to give us 9. So in the case of a cube, we're going to have, or a square, we're going to have two possible solutions come up. We're going to have positive and negative solution. We're now questioning, is the same thing going to be true of cubic numbers? Have a go, what do you think? Okay. So the same is not true of cubic numbers, because if we think about it, we're going to have the same number multiplied by itself 3 times. And if that number is positive, we're going to get a positive. And if that number was negative, we're going to get a negative. That means that if we have something, now if we had a square root of minus 9, that's going to be undefined. We can't find that. But if we had the cube root of minus 9, that is going to have an answer. Because before, both of these situations were positive, but here we have a negative. So there is a way to get a negative cube root, and this one doesn't exist. And the important thing to know there also is that a cubic is only going to have one root. So if we were to evaluate this one, we're only going to get one answer. And I'll put that in here, has one answer. So we've gone to our examples. The first one you've seen before. If we have this square root, we want to get rid of it. So we're going to do the opposite operation, which is squaring. We're going to do that to both sides. That gives us x equals 4 squared, so x is 16. The reason I've shown you that is because the next step is exactly the same, but this time instead of squaring, to get rid of our cube root, we want to cube. So we want to raise it to the power of 3. And we're going to do that on both sides. Now what that does, this cancels out both of those. So we're going to have we're going to have x equals 3 to the power of 3. And now we can simplify that. 3 to the power of 3 is going to be 27. Now, a quick note, it would be worth going through the numbers 1 to 10 and remembering their cubes. It won't take you too long to go through them and hopefully to remember them, but it will save you a lot of time in the future, especially in exams this year. But as you go into maths in future years, cubes and cube roots are going to come up again and again and again. So you want to really quickly be able to identify 27 as the cube of 3, or 8 as the cube of 2, etc. I would highly recommend that you go through and learn those. Okay, this question, we're going to start by trying to simplify this part. Now, hopefully you remember that in the previous question, we realized that 3 cubed equals 27. So it would make sense that the cube root of 27 is going to be 3, because they're the opposite operation. However, in this case, we have a negative, so we need to remember that a negative cube is also going to be a negative when you find the cube root. So we can then simplify that to 2x equals minus 3. Now, you don't necessarily need to remember all of this, and you may see numbers you don't know are cubes or that aren't perfect cubes. You can put this into your calculator. But like I said before, it's a lot quicker to just realize, oh, that's 3, than to have to put this whole thing into your calculator, especially in a test where every second counts. Next, we still want this x by itself, so we're going to divide both sides by 2. We get x equals minus 3 on 2, or 1.5, and that would be your solution. Okay, have a go at this question. All right, so we want to remove this cube root, so we're going to do the opposite, which is to cube both sides of the equation. That's going to give us x equals minus 2 cubed. And we want to leave it like that. And then we can evaluate. 2 cubed is going to be 8, or we could write it out like this. But that's going to become minus 8. So that would be the solution. Finally, have a go at this question. All right, so we're going to start by evaluating this side or simplifying it. Now, minus 1, or sorry, if we take 1 and multiply it by itself infinite number of times, we're always going to get 1. So when we see 1 under a cube root, we know it's going to come out to be 1. So here we've got a situation where we have 1 times 1 times 1 equals 1. However, remember we have the negatives, so we need to put the negatives in here. So we're going to get 2x equals minus 1. Again, you can put that one in your calculator. I would suggest you learn to recognize things, especially the cube root of 1. Now we divide both sides by 2. And we're going to end with x equals minus 1/2. And that's the final answer. If you have any questions, please do bring them to me. Otherwise, feel free to continue with the work. Thank you.